Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be trying a few new products. The main reason for this video is to talk about and show you the new Patrick Ta highlighters. I have actually already tried these. I already filmed this video one time and I wasn't happy with the footage, so we're going to refilm it today. But I do have two of the highlighters that we're going to chat about, and I have just some other random things that are newer to me that I wanted to try with you as well. If you're new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty content here on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I hope you'll subscribe, and let's get started. Okay, let's get into it. I do actually have a new primer. I don't buy primers a ton. If you watch my channel, you will know that. I'm not a huge primer person, but I was really intrigued by this new primer from NARS. This is the Light Reflecting Hydrating Primer. I love NARS personally. I think their complexion products are really great, and I've never tried a primer from NARS. They did also release a setting spray with this as well. I didn't get the setting spray because I have so many setting sprays that I need to use up, but I did want to try the primer, and like I said, I have tried these things a few times now because I already filmed this video, but I actually really like this primer. So it's a lotiony texture, so that's it there, and it has a little bit of like a pearlescent finish to it that maybe you'll be able to see there, but it's not ultra glowy, which I really like. And what it reminds me of is a product that doesn't exist anymore, but I'm sure many of you will remember this. This reminds me so much of the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. Do you remember that product? Remember when that was like one of the things you saw in every video on YouTube? RIP to Becca, but I remember how popular that product was. This reminds me of that, but a little bit less glowy. I remember that one having a similar texture to this, but just being a little bit more iridescent looking on the skin. This has just the slightest bit of glow, like I'm sure you can see. It's glow, but it doesn't look like a Flawless filter or Say Glowy Super Gel. It's nothing as glowy as that. It also has no scent, which is very nice. I've said before, I don't think primers are super necessary unless you have no skincare routine. Then I think maybe a primer is more necessary depending on your skin type. But for most people, I would say priming is not really necessary. But I have to say, the times I've used this, I really enjoyed it. So far so good with this. All right, I do have a new foundation as well. This is a foundation that has been on my loves list probably at least 2 years, maybe longer than that. And I was in Sephora and I just decided to try it because I'm so curious. So I've tried this, obviously. This is the Westman Atelier Vital Skin Foundation Stick. I love Westman Atelier. I have a major fascination with that brand. I love the aesthetic. I love the packaging. I think the products are very nice, high quality, very luxurious formulas. They are very expensive though. And that's one of the reasons why I haven't gotten this foundation. So it looks like this. It's in the same looking packaging as the blushes and the bronzers, but this one is a different shade. It's kind of like a light grayish pinky color, kind of like a taupey pink, I guess. But I got the shade Atelier number 2. And I will say this was definitely the closest shade match for me, but I will say I think the shade range could definitely use some work on these. I feel like the undertones are very drastic and there's not a great variety of them. I don't know. Definitely wasn't the best shade range I've ever seen, but this is the shade Atelier 2. So I think for right now it should be okay. I do have some self-tan on right now that's like 4 days old, 5 days old. So I think this should be okay. So let's go ahead and use this. I've used it before and I'll kind of give you my thoughts on this. First thing I'll say is I liked this actually more than I thought I was going to. It's very, very creamy. It's not a dry, stick foundation at all. I do find sometimes stick foundations can be a little on the dry side, so if your skin is dry already or you didn't prep your skin really well, I find sometimes stick foundations can be kind of hard to spread. This one is not. For that reason, I don't know how great this would be for oily skin because it's very, very creamy. But it is very pretty, I gotta say. I liked it much, much more than I thought I was going to. I would say it's a pretty decent medium coverage right off the bat, which is nice. And I've been enjoying it, I'm not gonna lie. I do think it might be a little bit too creamy if you have really, really oily skin. The closest thing that I've tried that reminds me of this is the Fenty Eavesdrop Hydrating Skin Tint or Skin Stick. So not the Eavesdrop in the tube, but the one in the stick. That's what the texture of this reminds me of. So if you like that, it's about that level of creaminess. So yeah, when I have self-tan on, this shade is a very good match. If I don't have any self-tan on, this shade is a little bit dark. I can make it work with concealer. And I've also found that my favorite brush to use for applying this foundation is actually this one. This is the 109 from BK Beauty, so it's the little angled brush. It's like a mini version of the 101. I find that with stick foundations in particular, I really like something that's more dense, so the bristles are shorter. I don't know why that is. I just find with creams you need something a little bit more dense to really blend and spread them across your skin. I don't know why, but I kind of feel like that with all the stick foundations that I own. But this was actually new for me because I don't usually use this brush for foundation, but I like it for this one. I'm gonna grab a little bit more directly from the stick and just tap it on where I want more coverage. Because I also like that this foundation is buildable, which is nice. All right, so there it is on my skin. One thing I really like about this is once you apply it, you blend it in, it is a true natural finish stick foundation. It's not glowy, it's not matte, it just looks like a natural skin finish, which is my absolute favorite. If I'm picking a finish for a product, I love a natural or a satiny finish, and that's exactly what this has. I mean, it doesn't magnify texture at all, like any of my pores here. It looks really nice and smooth over them. I like it. It is not the longest wearing foundation ever. The wear is decent, but I do find with cream foundations, they typically aren't the longest lasting. Just because of the nature of a cream formula. But on me, if I use some powder and setting spray, it wears pretty well. Let's do some color corrector. I'm gonna use my Huda Beauty correctors today. I'm gonna mix the two shades that I have. So I'm using Cherry Blossom and Pink Pomelo. Just a little bit because they are very, very pigmented. And I'm just tapping that in with a brush. This is the Smashbox Blurring Concealer brush. For concealer, I did get a new Hourglass Vanish concealer in the shade Cedar. If you've been around my channel for a long time, you may remember when this was my favorite concealer in the shade Cedar. This was my favorite for a long time and I just missed having it. So I got a new one and I just really like this concealer. It reminds me of Natasha Denona, but it's a little bit more matte than Natasha Denona, and it's, I want to say, maybe even more pigmented than Natasha Denona, so you don't need a lot of it at all. But I really do like this stuff. And I missed having it in my collection. I'm taking that 109 first from BK Beauty and just blending out where I want the least bit of coverage from that product first. I do love this concealer though. I think the key with it truly is to just use less than you think you need. Okay. For the under eyes, I actually have a new brush that I'm gonna try. This is the Refer 35 brush, and I think this is meant for concealer, but I've never used this. They sent me some of their face brushes to try out, and this was one of them. So I'm just tapping that concealer in under my eyes. I will also include timestamps on this video as well, so if you want to skip to anything in particular, like Patrick Ta highlighters, because I'm assuming a lot of people really want to know about those, then I will include the timestamps as well. For bronzer, this is not brand new to me, but I'm just going to use this. This is Sephora Collection in the shade Light Medium. These are fantastic from Sephora, the contour sticks. This is light medium, or light to medium in the shade number 2, but there is one lighter than this that's lighter in tone, and it's more of a gray tone, like a true contour color. So if that's what you're looking for, they do have that shade, but these are so nice. And they're like, I think they're $15 or $16 maybe. But these are beautiful contour sticks. Very creamy. They kind of remind me of like the Rare Beauty contour sticks. The consistency really reminds me of those. And I like to do mine from or apply mine from the back of my hand. And I'm actually just using that same 109 brush from BK Beauty. They do have a lot of pigment, but they're also pretty easy to blend out. So you don't have to be like super, super careful with them, but they do have a lot of pigment. That's why the formula really reminds me of the Rare Beauty ones. For blush, this is actually going to be my first time using this. This is the L'Oreal Lumi Liquid Blush. When I filmed this video the first time, I had not received this in the mail yet, and I used this, which this is just a new shade to me in the Makeup by Mario blush. This is the shade Sweet Pink. It's one of the new shades he released in the last few weeks. But I got this L'Oreal blush, and I really want to try this one today, so let's try this. I hope this is going to be good. I was very let down by the Maybelline Sun Kisser blushes. If you saw that video where I tried some drugstore makeup, I was not impressed with those. But that is the Lumi blush, and this is the shade Worth It, Dewy Worth It, 601. It looks just like a pretty nice peachy pink. The formula feels a little bit on the thicker side, much thicker than the Maybelline blushes. Those were very thin and watery. So I'm getting this blush off the back of my hand on the same brush and just tapping it on. Definitely more on the sheer side, which is not a bad thing. So I'm adding just a little bit more. I think this already is better than that Maybelline blush. Let me look up close. The Maybelline blush kind of moved. Well, there were a lot of things wrong with the Maybelline blush. The Maybelline blush, I tried applying it directly on my skin and blending it out, and it left like a little mark behind on my cheek, which was very annoying. And then I tried applying it from the back of my hand, and that worked better, but then it kind of lifted up my foundation underneath, and it almost blended away, like the pigment just, it wasn't there. This looks really pretty from what I'm seeing. Still on the sheer side, but did not move my foundation, and it definitely does have some glow, but not in like a super glittery or metallic way. It's really pretty actually. So far so good with these. Maybe this is gonna be like the new drugstore blush. Actually, I haven't seen anyone talk about these yet. And this time around, I am not gonna risk just drawing it on my face because I don't want any mishaps to happen. I never like it when I do that, so I need to just stop doing that. So we're gonna do the same thing over here. I just got it from the back of my hand. I applied a little bit more that time, and you can see we got a little bit more pigment. I really like the color too, actually. It's a light, kind of like a neutral peachy pink. Let me know if you've tried this formula. I think these came out around the same time as the Maybelline ones, maybe a little bit after that. One more thing, then we'll move on to the highlighters, but I am gonna set my face with a light layer of loose powder because we're gonna go in with these highlights and we're gonna use the powder. I don't wanna use the powder over a wet base because I just don't think that's gonna work. So we're gonna use my Sigma powder and this new brush that I'm absolutely loving, the sheer powder brush from Smashbox, which unfortunately is kind of hard to get your hands on, but it's a really nice brush if you are looking to very lightly apply a loose powder all over, because it's very fluffy and wispy on the end, so you can apply a good bit of powder, but you can do it very sheerly, which is nice. So I'm just applying this Sigma powder in the shade Vanilla Bean. All right, let's get into the highlighters. I'm sure if you've been on any form of social media in the past week, you have seen something about these Patrick Ta Major Glow highlighters. So I have two shades here. I did not get them in PR. I bought these with my own money. Just so you know, I've never gotten PR from Patrick Ta, although I would be absolutely just ecstatic if I did, but I have never. So just so you know. So I have the shade Baby, which is the pink one, and then I have the shade Daddy, which is the more like rose gold one. I definitely had a hard time picking the shades in store. I have so many things to say about these, honestly, but one of the first things being, I am a huge Patrick Ta fan. He is like #1 makeup artist. He's with Makeup by Mario. They are my two favorites, Mario and Patrick. I love them both. And if you watch my videos, you will know I love Patrick Ta's products. I love his blushes. I love his brand. I buy everything. I try everything. Well, let me just apply these and then we'll talk about them. So let's go in with this one. I will insert swatches here of Baby, which is the light pink. They don't swatch well. They don't show up super well in swatches. So you'll probably see, or you've probably seen in other people's swatches, these are very sheer highlighters. They're translucent. They were intentionally made with a translucent base. I've heard Patrick say that himself. So they're not super obvious when you swatch them. They are very subtle in terms of the amount of color that you're getting. So that's thought #1. But let's go in with Baby. So I'm gonna use the powder first. This is his method. He does the same thing with his blushes. He likes to do the powder and then put the cream on top. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna use the Sigma F03 brush to apply the powder highlighter. And I'm gonna do Baby on this side. Okay, so first up with these. It's not a super creamy feeling powder. It's definitely a drier feeling powder. Some of the shades I have heard are more glittery than others. The two that I have, I don't find to be super glittery looking on my skin, but I have heard it depends on the shade that you have. Baby and Daddy, I don't find to be super glittery or shimmery on my skin. I will say, if you have powdered your cheek, like I did with the setting powder we used earlier, the powder applies really beautifully on my skin. However, I do not have acne prone skin. I don't have a lot of texture on my skin. I have relatively smooth skin. So for me, these highlighters don't emphasize anything, but I recognize that not everyone has the same skin type. Obviously, we are all different. Everyone has different skin needs. If you have a lot of texture, you are worried about pores, that's something that you really struggle with. Do I think these are going to magnify that? Yes, I do. I do. Whether we're talking about the cream or the powder, I think if you have a lot of texture, these will magnify it. So just keep that in mind. They're highlighters. However, I do think of all the highlighters I've tried, this is not the most intense highlighter. This is on the natural side of a highlight, in my opinion. So if you're looking for that like very intense, see it from outer space kind of glow, you're definitely not going to get that with these. I don't care what color you get. That's not the type of product that this is. And I've heard him say that himself. So keep that in mind. But there is the powder. And I personally think the powder is stunning. I mean, I think it looks pretty, glowy, natural. I don't think it's emphasizing anything at all. I think it looks really, really nice on my skin. So just keep it in mind. Everyone's skin is different. Everyone has different preferences and needs. So it's hard to say how everyone's going to react to this. Do I think everyone's going to like these? No. Most people don't like every makeup product. That's why there are so many options though, you know. Let's go in with a sponge and we're going to use the cream on top. I do find, for me personally, a sponge is the way to apply the cream on these. I think because of the texture of these creams, they are very emollient, balmy. Yes, they are a little bit sticky on your cheeks. So again, if you don't like a sticky highlight, you probably won't like these creams. They're not the most sticky thing that I've ever used, but they don't set down. They do have a little bit of tackiness to them. So yes, they are a little bit sticky. But the reason that you get this wet look is because of that texture of this cream formula. So yes, they are a little bit sticky. I personally don't mind it. I think they're really beautiful. So that is the shade Baby. And of the two, this one's probably my favorite. Daddy is a little bit more subtle on my skin because it's a little bit darker. So that one's a little bit lighter. This one's a little bit deeper, so it's a little bit more subtle on my skin, but you'll see. All right, let's go in with Daddy on the other side. So this is Daddy, and I will insert a swatch here as well of Daddy. And I'm gonna switch to a different brush for the powder on this side. So I'm gonna use this one. This is the Rare Beauty highlighter brush. So there is Daddy. Now, to me, Daddy looks more subtle, and it's just because it's not as light, so it kind of blends into my skin a little bit more. But there is Daddy. I hope you can see it. But like I said, they're not highlighters that you're gonna see from outer space. Now Daddy is pretty because it's rose gold, but it has like a pink reflect in it. Like as you move, you can kind of see a little bit of the rose gold, but you also see a little bit of a pink color, which is really pretty. Now let's use the cream, and I'm just going to use the other side of the sponge. I will say the creams, like you can probably see here, the cream is very creamy. I mean, it's very emollient. Like if you stick your finger, your sponge or brush in there really, really hard, you're gonna like pick up the product because it is kind of goopy. So just keep that in mind. I'm just pointing out everything that I've noticed about them so far. But I'm just gonna tap a little bit of Daddy on top. I'm kind of focusing the cream more on the top of my cheeks here. Okay, so there is Daddy, powder, and then cream. I just find if you use your finger with this product, because of how slippy it is and balmy, I just feel like it's kind of a recipe for disaster if you use your finger. I feel like you will move everything else. It will get in places maybe that you didn't want it to get. So I would say a sponge is probably going to be the way to go with the creams on these. Before we move on, I did just want to touch on something I've seen a lot, and it's the question of the formula on these Patrick Ta highlighters and if they are similar to a formula he released a few years ago in a holiday palette. Of course, I have the holiday palette. This one was, I think this was from 2 years ago. He released this palette that had 2 blushes and a highlight. And I've seen a lot of people wanting to know if this formula is similar to that formula. And yes, it definitely is. I do think the cream is pretty much the same formula, although I will say that the cream in these new highlighters has a little bit of shimmer in it, whereas this one from the holiday palette a few years ago, it really doesn't. It's just kind of a wet looking balmy highlight, but the formula feels and looks the same. It gives you that kind of wet look on your skin, but the new ones do have a little bit of shimmer in them. But it's, in my opinion, it's kind of undetectable on the skin, but it's there if you look really close. So the balms are similar. The highlight, the powder highlight, I would also say is a pretty similar formula. So that is the powder from a few years ago. I do think the new highlighters, the powder, I find has a little bit more translucency to it than this one did. Just my opinion, but that is the powder from his previous highlight and that is the balm there. But you can see this highlighter, in my opinion, has a little bit more pigment in it, not quite as translucent, and to me this one is a little bit more sparkly, like it has more noticeable flecks of glitter. But if you're wondering if the formula is similar, yes, they are definitely similar. I don't know if it's identical, but it's very similar. So if you had that palette and you didn't like it, you probably won't like these highlighters either. One more comparison I was going to make is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate highlighter. I've seen a lot of people wondering if this is a similar formula. Yes, the formula is definitely similar. So that is Tom Ford, the cream from Shade and Illuminate Intensity 1 right there. But you can see Tom Ford has more pigment than that older Patrick Ta one. See how much more translucent that is? I would say this one gives, I don't know, this one has a little bit more of a base to it than the creams from the Patrick Ta highlighters. But yes, they give a similar look on the skin. They give that kind of wet look. I don't think the Tom Ford cream is as soft as the Patrick Ta, and I think that's where a lot of the issues are coming from with the Patrick Ta highlights, is some people have had their cream melt or it's been like really runny almost. So I don't really know what's going on with that. Mine are not that way, but I don't know if it's a shade thing. I don't know if it's a formula thing with like a certain batch out there. I haven't had that issue with mine, but I have seen that. But I do think the Tom Ford is similar, but I don't think it's identical. Like I think you can see there that Tom Ford, it's just not as translucent as the Patrick Ta. So my closing kind of thoughts as of now on the Patrick Ta highlighters are, do I think they're for everyone? No. Do I think they're his best product that he's ever released? No. Do I like them? Yes. Do I think they are deserving of a lot of the negativity that I've seen? Not really. I understand the frustration and I understand that maybe they're not what some people were thinking they were going to be when they bought them. So obviously I understand that. They're expensive. I get that. But to me, they're pretty more natural highlighters. But yeah, they're translucent. They don't have a lot of base pigment to them. And the cream is very balmy, a little bit squishy, very, very emollient. So I can see why some people wouldn't like it. But do I regret buying them? No, I don't. But again, it's all personal preference. So again, this is Baby on this side, and this is Daddy daddy on this side. I'm gonna quickly do my brows off camera and then I'll be back and we'll move into eyes. All right, let's move into eyes. I do have a few new shadow sticks. I feel shadow sticks are kind of the new thing. Everybody's releasing them. I have a few, so I have 2 from NARS. These are the new Total Seduction eyeshadow sticks. They released, I think, 6 shades of these. They're all mattes, and I purchased 2 of them. So I have these shades Don't Touch, which is kind of like it's definitely a cooler tone. It's like a beigey taupe. And then I have Mambo, which is kind of a warmer reddish brown. So that is Don't Touch, and above it is Mambo. And then I also have some new ones from Jane Iredale. So these are the new Jane Iredale just Luxe eyeshadow sticks. And they actually sent me these in PR, so thank you, Jane Iredale. And they actually sent me all the colors, but I pulled out 2 of them today. So I have Saddle, which is this one here. It's just a matte warm brown. And then above that is Gatsby, which is a shimmer shade, and it's just kind of a light champagne gold. So I thought we could use these today. So I'm gonna first go in with the NARS shadow stick in the shade Don't Touch. And I'm gonna put this on my lid. Let's see, I'm just gonna use this brush, the 206 from BK Beauty, to blend. But that shade is just a really light, cool tone, taupe. So I'm gonna apply that just kind of all over. It's a really pretty one and done shadow if you like a cooler tone. I think this came out with their summer collection this year. They had like a summer face palette, like the Laguna face palette or something. I didn't end up getting one of those because, I don't know, it just didn't really speak to me, but I don't know if that means these shadow sticks are limited edition, because I know NARS typically makes all their eye products limited edition. I don't know why, but they do. Now I'm gonna take this Jane Iredale one. This one is in the shade Saddle, which is the warmer brown. And this one is pretty pigmented, so I'm not using very much. But I just kind of drew that into the crease here. And I'm just using that same brush to blend out. So the Jane Iredale sticks come in matte and metallic shades. I will say for sure I definitely prefer the matte shades. The metallic shades are fine, but they're not my favorite. I feel like they're a little lackluster in terms of the shine and just kind of the overall look on the eyes. So I definitely prefer the metallic one, or the matte ones, excuse me, of the Jane Iredale shades. All right, now I'm going in with Mambo, which this one's the one I like the most of all of these. This shade is just really pretty, and I'm gonna use this as like a messy eyeliner. So I'm just kind of applying it along the outer half of my lash line. And then I'm gonna take a small little brush. This one is a 209 from BK Beauty, and just go over it and smudge it out. I'm actually gonna switch brushes to a 204 from BK Beauty, which is smaller. And I kind of grabbed a little bit of the color directly from the stick, and I'm kind of stamping it on my eye. I will also say, now that I've used these NARS shadow sticks a few times, they're not anything earth-shattering. Like, if you have a lot of eyeshadow sticks that you love, I don't think you need to go out and buy these. I think they're good, but there's nothing about them that's like spectacular, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're nice, but there's so many good shadow sticks on the market. I think of all of them, honestly, the Bobbi Brown ones are my favorite. I like Laura Mercier also, but these aren't anything super special in my opinion. All right, since I pulled it out, I'm gonna also just apply a little bit of this color from Jane Iredale and Gatsby. So this is the kind of light gold color, and I'll kind of show you what I mean in terms of the finish. So I just kind of drew that one on like in the center of the lid and just kind of tapping it in on my finger. So do you see, like, it's just very lackluster. Like, it's there, but I don't know, it has like pretty big shimmery chunks in it, and they're just a little bit chalky in the shimmer shades, just my opinion. I was hoping they were going to be really nice and kind of creamy, but they're a little on the dry side for me personally. I like the assortment of shades that they made. I wish the shimmers and the metallics just had a little bit more like pop to them. And then I'm actually going to use that same brush, the 206 from BK Beauty, and I'm just going to run whatever is left on the brush under my eyes. I do not have a new eyeliner or a new mascara, so I'm going to do that quickly and then I'll be back and we'll finish up with lips. All right, last but not least, we have lips, and I don't have a brand new lip liner, believe it or not. So I figured I'll just use what we have out. This is Makeup by Mario in Toasty. Actually, no, you know what we're gonna use? I have either been using Maybelline in the shade On It. I've talked about these. These are the new lifter liners. They're fantastic. But I have fallen back in love with this lip liner. This is Anywhere Caffeine from Makeup Forever. And I forgot how much I love this color. So lip liner is on. Now, I did get a new lipstick. I am on the quest to find my perfect matte lipstick. I realized in the last few weeks I don't have like a perfect go-to matte lipstick. I have a ton of balmy hydrating lipsticks because that's just what I tend to gravitate towards. But I was in Sephora and I saw this lipstick. So this is the shade right here. This is one of the Gucci lipsticks in the shade 222 Fanny Rose, which I love the name, but this is part of the new matte nudes collection, I think. But I really liked this color, and I'm still testing it out with different lip liners, but when I wore this the other day, I did like the shade. So we're gonna wear this again. I haven't tried it with this lip liner yet. I think I'm gonna like this with Anywhere Caffeine. Oh yeah, that's a good color. I really like this formula actually from Gucci. I'm not a huge matte lipstick person typically, but I would like to have one that I really like, that I know works. And this one is very comfortable and I like the shade. All right, that is everything for today's video. I wanted to go through the products real quickly, give you my thoughts on them. We'll start with the NARS primer. I really like this, as I said in the earlier clip. I just was kind of curious and wanted to try it. I don't think it's a necessary product, but I do think it's nice. It's hydrating, gives a little bit of a glow, but not shimmery or glittery. It's just a very subtle, natural skin glow. So I've been enjoying it so far. It has applied really well with the products I've used with it so far. It applies well with the Westman Atelier foundation stick underneath. So I really like that so far. This is probably what I'm most impressed with, honestly, in this whole video. This and maybe one more thing. The Westman Atelier foundation stick, I don't know why. I wasn't sure I was gonna love this, and I don't really know why. I don't know. I thought, well, maybe there's a reason I've gone all this time and I haven't gotten it, even though I wanted it. But honestly, this is a beautiful stick foundation. If you like a medium coverage, natural finish, and you like a creamier formula, this is really nice. Yes, it's expensive. It's Westman Atelier, so it is up there in the price. but it's very, very nice, very heavy, luxurious. The packaging is gorgeous. So I like this. Like I said, I'm gonna wear this again today and see what I think about the wear by the end of the day, but this is definitely not the most long wearing foundation. However, I do find if I use powder like I did today, like the Sigma loose powder, and I use my setting spray like I typically do, it still wears pretty well on me. Just if you do have oily skin, I would say this might be a little bit too creamy for you, but I think it looks really, really pretty, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed with that. The Hourglass concealer, I already knew I love that. I just bought it again, and I'm glad I did. One thing I did want to say about the Hourglass concealer, for some reason with that concealer, I find that I like not setting it under my eyes. I think that one, because it's a little bit on the more matte side, I don't find that I really need to add additional powder with that one under my eyes. So I do like it better with no powder. And I remember that from last time, so I did just want to point that out. The blush from L'Oreal. This is the other thing that I'm very excited about. I think this is a winner. I think this is much, much better than the Maybelline Sun Kisser blushes. So if you're wanting a drugstore option in a liquid blush, this one is definitely better. It doesn't give a ton of pigment, so it's not super pigmented, but in my opinion, that's a good thing. It's a lot easier, more beginner friendly, and I really like this color in the shade Worth It, number 601. I think it comes in like 6 or 7 shades, but this is a winner for sure. I really like it. It did not pick up anything underneath, and I was really impressed with the application and the color. So that I'm super, super excited about. The Patrick Ta highlighters, I mean, honestly, I really like them for myself. Am I a highlighter person though? No, I won't pick these up on a daily basis because honestly, I don't wear highlighter on a daily basis. Most of the time, my other complexion products are glowy enough that I really don't feel like I need a highlighter. But if I was going to use a highlighter, I do like these. I definitely do prefer the pink one. I prefer baby over daddy. I do like the daddy color, but I don't know. I do think if you look really close, I was looking up close in the mirror before I started filming this last clip. If you look like really close right here, you can see a little bit of shimmer. You gotta look like really, really close, but you can see a little bit of that pink shimmer in there, which makes sense. That shade is the one that has like the pink reflect in it, but I do think it looks pretty on my skin personally. But like I said, keep in mind, if you have a lot of texture, do I think it will enhance? Yes, I do. Is the balm highlight a little bit sticky? Yes, it is. I'm trying to see if my hair gets stuck on it. Not really. I didn't over apply the balm either, so there's that. I think maybe apply less of the balm on top. Don't go in heavy because it is a really balmy, emollient, thicker cream. So, do I think everyone's gonna like it? No. Do I think some people are going to like it? Yes, I do. Oh, the eyeshadow sticks. Overall, I would say they're nice, but like I said, they're nothing super special. And I mean the NARS or the Jane Iredale shadow sticks. I mean, this is a nice eye look, but I could achieve this with a lot of other eyeshadow sticks that I already own. But I mean, the formula is nice. It's just not anything you've never seen before or something super special. And in my opinion, I would skip the shimmer shades on the Jane Iredales. I just think, I don't know, the shimmer is chunky. They're not super reflective. And I don't know, they feel also kind of dry on your eye. Even when I was like tapping it in earlier, I kind of noticed that. So I would skip the shimmer shades on these. The cream or the matte shades are nice. If you need a new matte eyeshadow or cream shadow, I think they're nice, but nothing revolutionary about these. And then the lipstick from Gucci. I really do like this. It's Gucci, so obviously it was not cheap. But I mainly bought it because, like I said, I'm looking for like my perfect nude lipstick, and I feel like I haven't quite found it. But I gotta say, this one, this might be it. I want to keep pairing it with different lip liners and see what I really like. But I like this tone. I think it's not too cool or too warm. I was looking for something a little bit more neutral, and I think I found that in this. You're probably thinking, Blair, I thought that was a matte lipstick and your lips now look a little bit glossy. Yes, they do, because I am sitting here saying I want a matte lipstick, and then before I started filming again, what did I do? I took a little bit of this and just put it on top, and I love how it looks. This is the Westman Atelier Squeaky Clean Lip Balm in the shade Nana, which is just kind of a light pinky beige color, and I just thought it would pair really well with that lipstick, and it does. So there you go. I'm a gloss girl at heart, you know? All right. That is everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed. I will have all the products linked below and in YouTube shopping for you that is up on the screen. It's just another way that you can shop if you wish to, and it does support my channel. I do make a small commission if you shop through my links or the YouTube shopping feature. So thank you so much if you do choose to do that. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe and follow me over on Instagram at simply.blair and TikTok simply.blair1. And I will see you again very soon. Remember, simply be you. Bye.